You know guys, I love a good story-focused game. The way some of these stories can get so emotional and mature and can get me to feel emotions only certain movies have ever gotten out of me has never ceased to impress me. But let's be honest here, gamers as a community have no idea how to have fun anymore. Let me explain. I can have fun with a good emotional story as much as the next guy. But it feels like anytime we have a single player that offers a story that clearly doesn't take itself that seriously, it's usually written off as an unimpressive game, and that is far, far, far from the truth. And the best example of this is Plaitnum Games' latest title, Bayonetta 3. After several years, our sexy, confident, badass Umbra Witch has returned for seemingly one last dose of utter insanity. And it's that no-hold-bars level of outrageousness in Bayonetta 3 that makes it one of the best action games of this year. So normally after my little intros, I would try to give a brief rundown on what happens in the story, but honestly, what's the fucking point with Bayonetta 3? It's all complete nonsense anyway. Mind you, not in a bad way. In fact, a lot of the story's pull, for me, is the same for any Bayonetta fan, I think. And it's that the story is absolutely fucking nuts. It focuses on multiverses and time travel and the lot, and yes, in comparison to Bayonetta 1 and 2, it is arguably the weakest of the Bayonetta series, as Bayonetta 3's story has arguably the least interesting mystery and a villain whose motivations are insanely weak. But here's the thing, I don't care, cause this story may be a mess, but damn it, it is a fun mess. While the story has issues, sure, it's still characters you enjoy seeing doing a bunch of badass and funny things that are, well, badass and funny. In fact, along with being badass and funny, I'll even go a step further and say out of the entire series, this probably has the biggest heart to it. Now, there aren't like massive tear-jerking moments or anything, but if you're a fan of Bayonetta, then the ending may actually have an effect on you. But that's not really what the story is offering you. I mean, look, so this is the story of Bayonetta 3. Bayonetta jumps between all sorts of different multiverses and interacts with different versions of herself. Is that interesting to you? Then trust me, you'll enjoy this story just fine. Well, that's enough of that. Let's discuss the #1 reason any smart person would play a Bayonetta game. Okay, let's discuss the #2 reason why anybody would ever play a Bayonetta game. The absolutely insane combat that is somehow, in some way, even better than both of the Bayonetta games. The original Bayonetta combat is easily one of the best combat systems in gaming, right next to Batman and God of War. So saying that Bayonetta 3 takes its already impressive foundation and pushes it further is not a small feat. The biggest change in Bayonetta 3 being the inclusion of Demon Slave, where you can call upon your infernal demon companion to fight alongside you. These demons range from a kaiju-style reptile, a sexy demon lady, an enormous hell spider, a giant multi-eyed bird, a singing frog with boobs, and, I'm being serious here, a living war train with a demon inside that can mow down any enemy in its path. It's fucking crazy, but it is a serious power trip. In fact, it's so much of a power trip that the first time I did it, I thought to myself, damn, this is kind of OP. But Bayonetta 3 does a good job at keeping that power in check. Yes, your demons do massive damage, but there are catches. #1, if you're hit, the demon summon is cancelled. #2, your demons can take damage as well, and if they take too much damage, they can be killed. And #3, and most importantly, each demon has a rage meter. And if that maxes out, they will turn against you and begin attacking everything in its sight. So it's a very high risk, high reward scenario, which I love very much. With each new demon, you also get a new assortment of weapons at your disposal. With the demon spider, you get 2 Ignis yo-yos that can pull off some insane combos. Or with your bird demon, you get these very fast, quick dual fans. Or with your war train, you get a giant club that hits hard and does massive damage. Each weapon plays fundamentally different and helps keep the gameplay constantly engaging as you eagerly await what new, badass, or insane weapon/demon combo you get next. All the badass demons and super slick and smooth combat helps to make fighting in Bayonetta 3 both a treat to experience and a sight to behold, and it's further backed up by an absolutely badass soundtrack that just gets you even more pumped and ready to deliver some kick-ass power moves. Now, Bayonetta's battle theme is pretty fire, but the standout song for me is Viola's battle theme. Viola's battle theme slaps unbelievably hard. It got me pumped every time it started playing in the background. And this time around, Bayonetta isn't the only one who gets a piece of the action. You also control newcomer Viola in her own combat sections. Now, I certainly wasn't overly enthusiastic at the idea of controlling someone who wasn't Bayonetta. But as it turns out, she plays just as good as Bayonetta, just with some very key differences. Unlike Bayonetta, she's not particularly as quick or disciplined, but is more for heavy combos with her demon sword to wail on her enemies. But the most drastic change in Viola's gameplay is the activation of Viola's Witch Time, which is activated not by dodging, but by blocking at the right moment. And after dodging has been ingrained in our minds for years, it took a little time to remember this whole new dodging mechanic. But once I stuck with it enough, it all began to click together. Jeanne also gets her own side missions, but in the form of 2D platforming sections with more stealth-centric gameplay that leave a heavy impression of a Mission Impossible spy film. And very similar with Viola, it took a little time to get used to, but once you've done it enough, eventually the style and charm wins you over. The big change-ups in gameplay are all complemented by an improvement in level design, which offer much bigger and much more open spaces to investigate. I mean, sure, the majority of the game is still combat arenas, but when you're not locked down in these combat arenas, you've got plenty of room to investigate the worlds using the various forms of traversal to find several collectibles, models, concept arts, and more. You can also find combat challenges, hidden secrets aplenty. This game has much more in store for you than you think. And that just connects to what I've been saying this entire time. There's just an unbelievable amount of variety in Bayonetta 3. And no matter where you go, chances are something new and most likely crazy will be awaiting you around the corner. And even after the game's story is wrapped up, the combat is still waiting to call you back with insanely replayable levels that urge you to master Bayonetta's systems and earn those perfect scores and medals, max out your skill trees, and top the leaderboards. In fact, it's pretty fair to say that the true challenge of Bayonetta 3 starts after you finish the story. The only real complaint that I have with Bayonetta 3 is the same issue that I seem to have with a majority of Switch games, and unfortunately that comes down to its visuals. Now, I don't necessarily blame Plaitnum for this. It's more the fault of the aging hardware. Bayonetta 3, for what it's worth, tries its damnedest to keep it 60 frames per second, and the art design and the world still look pretty good. They're all colorful and layered, but when you look closely, you can definitely see a lack of detail and polish, and when too much shit is happening on screen, you can certainly see the game struggling to hold its desired frame rate. It's never enough to detract from the awesomeness of the game, but it would be a lie if I said it wasn't pretty noticeable. If it's only the visual issues that you can come up with, then that should still speak volumes about the quality of this game. And it really pisses me off that this game is kinda getting slept on. Now, I could point at multiple reasons why this could be. Maybe Bayonetta is too sexualized for a modern audience. Maybe it's the whole voice acting nonsense with Helena Taylor. Or maybe it's the reason I believe why it's not being discussed more, and it's because people just don't take these type of games seriously anymore. I actually talked to several people who told me they weren't interested in Bayonetta 3 simply because the game looks too goofy and silly. And I'm sorry, but I hate that reasoning. Like, we have been so spoiled by these realistic and super serious stories that we have just completely forgotten how to have fun anymore. I mean, yes, sure, Bayonetta 3's story is outrageous, but that's what gives it its charm. But the story isn't even the driving factor for a game like this, more like the side dish. It is the gameplay that takes full shine, and it's that reason alone why Bayonetta 3 deserves all the attention in the world. Bayonetta 3 is a game that doesn't take itself seriously in the slightest, and it's a glorious romp of madness. The story, for what it is a fun rampage of crazy scenarios and fun characters, but that's not what the big takeaway should be. It should be the absolutely fluid and stellar combat that, when matched with a wide array of demons and weapons, a much more open level design, a stellar soundtrack, and many opportunities for replay value, makes Bayonetta 3 a gift that just keeps on giving. Yes, its visuals may be a little on the rough side, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Bayonetta 3 is a must-play game for action lovers and a worthy title to close out the original Bayonetta trilogy. Please do not let something as simple as a goofy story turn you off to a game like this. Oh man, watching the Game Awards and seeing Bayonetta 3 only get one award when it deserves multiple is a damn shame. But I suppose I am happy that it got something. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching my Bayonetta 3 review. I'm pretty proud of this one. Next review I predict being about maybe 2-3 weeks out. I'm going to try and review that game, yeah, that big, massive game, God of War Ragnarok. I'm gonna try. I actually haven't made up my mind yet. I'm either gonna do that or I'm gonna get started on my top 10 games of 2022. We'll see, but I'll keep you guys posted. If you guys aren't already following me on Instagram, it's the GamerCritic. So go head over there if you want to keep up to date on certain things. And hey, if you watched the video but aren't subscribed to the YouTube channel, why don't you hit that subscribe button? I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys a little later.